long time ago, in a happy kingdom, joy filled the air. A kind king and queen finally welcomed a baby girl. They named her Aurora, a name like soft morning light. Bells rang and banners fluttered from every castle tower. They invited all the kingdom to her grand christening celebration. Everyone came to see the little princess in her cradle. To protect her, the king asked 3 good fairies to help. They arrived in a shimmer of colour beside the cradle. "We bring gifts, little one," the first fairy said softly. "I give you the gift of beauty," she whispered over Aurora. "And I give you the gift of song and sweet voice," said another. The third fairy lifted her wand, ready to give her blessing. Suddenly, the happy music stopped and the whole fell silent. A cold wind rushed through the room and shook the candles. Dark green smoke curled in the air near the great doors. From the smoke stepped Maleficent, the terrible fairy no one expected. Her black cloak trailed behind her like a shadow on stone. Everyone stared, frozen, as she smiled without any warmth at all. "My, how interesting," she said. "I was not invited here." She called it a grave mistake, her voice smooth and sharp. She lifted her staff and turned her gaze toward the cradle. "My gift to the princess," she said in a chilling tone. "Before her 16th sunset, she will prick her finger and die." Green fire flashed, then she vanished, leaving fear and bitter smoke. One good fairy stepped forward, her face pale but determined. "We must help," she whispered, lifting her glowing wand high. "I have one gift left to give this child. Not death, but sleep, deep as the darkest night. Only true love's kiss shall break this heavy spell." Her words wrapped around Aurora like a soft, unseen shield. The king ordered every spinning wheel in the land burned. Flames rose, but the fairies knew magic never truly ends. They decided the only safety was far from the kingdom. They gave up their magic and lived as simple women. They raised Aurora as their niece, calling her Briar Rose. 16 long years passed, quick as a blink in story time. The fairies tried to cook, but magic was not allowed. Without spells, they burned porridge and dropped pans on the floor. Sweeping and washing took forever without a flick of a wand. Flora once baked a lopsided cake for Aurora's birthday. It leaned, dripped icing, and sagged like a sleepy mountain. Aurora laughed and said the crooked cake was perfect. Briar Rose grew up to be a beautiful young girl. Her eyes were bright and her smile came easily. She spent her days exploring the woods with singing birds. She talked to animals, trees, and her own quiet thoughts. She never knew she was a princess hidden in plain sight. Still, her heart secretly dreamed she might someday meet true love. Far away, a handsome prince named Phillip rode through the woods. He felt restless and bored with his royal palace life. Today, he searched for adventure among the tall, quiet trees. Then he heard a soft, enchanting voice singing nearby. The sound floated between branches like music on the wind. Curious, Philip followed the song deeper into the forest. He stepped into a clearing and startled the singing girl. "Oh, you frightened me," she said, clutching her basket tightly. Philip bowed and said her voice was the most beautiful. They talked for a long time beneath the rustling leaves. "I am am Briar Rose," she said. "I live with my 3 aunts." "I am simply Philip," he replied. "May I see you again tomorrow?" "Yes, at the cottage, after sunset," Aurora promised softly. She raced through the forest, heart bright with first love. At the door, her 3 aunts waited with worried faces. "Briar Rose, darling, why so late? Why so happy?" Aurora blushed and said she had met a kind stranger. She told them he was lovely and promised to return. The fairies exchanged a look. They knew time was up. "Oh dear, Rose, you must listen very carefully now." They told her she was Princess Aurora, the king's daughter. They confessed they hid her here from Maleficent's cruel curse. Aurora whispered, "But my life is here, with you." Heartbroken and confused, she was rushed back to the castle. Back in the dark castle, the air felt wrong. Cold shadows gathered in corners that once felt safe. "Aurora, my dear child, you look so very sad," someone sighed. A glowing green light appeared and floated through the hall. Drawn by the light, Aurora followed it up hidden stairs. It led her to a high, forgotten chamber, dusty and still. In the center of the room stood a single spinning wheel. Maleficent's voice filled the air, commanding her to touch it. Aurora reached out, finger trembling, and brushed the sharp spindle. The curse was fulfilled. She collapsed and the kingdom fell silent. "We were too late. Our precious Rose is lost," the fairies cried. They laid her on the grandest bed and put all to sleep. In the forest, Prince Phillip reached the cottage at dusk. He called for Briar Rose, but the cottage stayed silent. The 3 aunts appeared instead and stopped him at once. They revealed Briar Rose was really Princess Aurora of legend. Philip answered that he loved her, whatever her name. Outside, Maleficent's minions waited, sprang forward, and captured the prince. They dragged him to Maleficent's mountain fortress and chained him. She mocked him, promising 100 years of helpless waiting. The good fairies slipped into the dungeon through a window. With spell, they broke his chains and set him free. They gave him the shield of virtue for pure protection. They placed the sword of truth in his ready hand. Philip rushed out of the fortress, thinking only of Aurora. Maleficent appeared before him, blocking the narrow rocky path. "Foolish prince," she said, "you cannot fight darkness itself." Green fire flared as she rose and changed her shape. She became a massive dragon, black and violet, breathing fire. The shield of virtue flashed as Philip raised it against flames. The dragon's hot breath roared over the shield and rocks. Fairies darted around her head, bright sparks against dark scales. Philip dodged swinging claws and leaping bursts of green fire. He climbed higher on the craggy stones, searching for one chance. The sword of truth glowed blue as he drove it forward. With a final, terrible roar, Maleficent dissolved into smoke and shadow. Philip raced back to the castle, heart pounding with hope. He climbed the grand stairs to the silent, sleeping hall. There, on the highest bed, Aurora lay perfectly still. Her face was peaceful, framed by golden hair on pillows. Philip knelt beside her and whispered her name softly. Then he kissed her gently, with all his love and courage. Aurora's eyes fluttered open, bright and clear once more. Across the kingdom, people woke exactly where sleep had caught them. The king and queen rushed in, joy overflowing like sunlight. They embraced Aurora and welcomed Philip as their true hero. Soon the bells rang again for a royal wedding celebration. Aurora and Philip danced together, and the kingdom lived happily ever after.